here because that's what I need to do. There we go. So we're recording. Welcome on in. I'm going to be off camera most of the time because I want you to be able to focus completely on the screen. I'm going to be before you a little while, not a long while, but I want to make sure we touch base on how to get you more clients. We're going to talk about the changing landscape of marketing, whether you are a coach, a counselor, a consultant, or some blend of the three. I want you to get some strategies and suggestions for how to grow your business, getting more clients. I want you to feel free to use the chat today. I will make sure that I am checking that periodically. I am recording, so I will make sure that I send you a recording as well. But let's get right into it. All right. So if this is your first time catching one of my videos, which however you found me, that's fine. My name is Kevlin and I am a coach and a consultant. My passion, my, talent, my skill is really about helping people to achieve the life that they want to achieve, right? So helping people to have a high quality of life with as many clients as they want. But I really feel like there's a significant gap right now in terms of I want to have a huge income. I want to have a huge impact, but I also want to have a high quality of life. So that's my sweet spot. So I'm always encouraging people to have the life that you want to have, which includes the income and the impact that you want to have. So I'm always looking for strategic ways to help people do that. And one of the things that I'm doing is making sure that you get the clients that you want, and not just any old clients, but I want you to get the right clients. Now, before we get deep into the content, I want you to know something. I want to get this out of the way. If you feel lost with how to get more clients, you are not alone. If you are maybe frustrated by the clients that you've been getting, maybe you're getting clients, you're like, these are not the right fit clients. I do not want to work with these people. They are not about that life. Or maybe you're saying I'm getting a few clients, but I'm not getting enough. So I'm getting some, but not as many as I want to have. If you're feeling like this is harder than you thought it would be, I want to encourage you today. You are not crazy. You are not alone. And chances are you may not even be doing anything wrong, but I'm just going to teach you today some things that you can do maybe a little bit better. So here are some of the things that I've heard. So honestly, I put together this presentation because I've been in a couple of different groups and I've been seeing a bunch of people kind of like, I need help with SEO. I need help with more clients. I need help with this. And I'm like, y'all are asking the wrong questions. So you're never going to actually get the right answer. The questions people I saw asking is like, how can I get more clients when I'm already so busy? I'm doing all the things, right? Or maybe they're saying, what is working right now for coaches and therapists? Like, what is actually working? Because it doesn't feel like anything is working. People have been trying things or they've been using things in the past, and it just feels like the things that used to work don't work as well as they used to work, or they're not working at all. I also see people, and this is something I probably want to talk a little bit more about today, is I hate feeling salesy. Like, how can I compete when everybody else is out there? Like, they got their perfect pictures, they got their perfect website, they got their perfect graphics. And I just feel like I do not have it all together. I don't want to feel like I'm begging people. I don't want to feel like I'm twisting people's arms, right? So that feeling of putting yourself out there, which isn't something that we necessarily, it's not why we actually got into counseling or coaching, right? A lot of times we got into our business because we wanted to just help people. So the idea that we had to convince people to help, to accept our help, that feels kind of crazy, right? And then other people, it's just like the tech, like the idea of like setting up a website, setting up a landing page, setting up automation, all of the tech pieces feel really complicated. So if you're here watching this live, if you are experiencing any of those, just put a 1 in the chat, right? To let me know, like, yeah, that sounds a little bit like me. If you're watching this recording and you hear something that you have maybe said to yourself or had a conversation about with someone else, understand that I'm going to give you some tips today to help you answer all these questions. So here's the truth. The truth is that if you are in the coaching or the counseling world, the landscape is changing. It used to be that all you had to do to decide you wanted to be a therapist was get your license, get your lease, open up the door, and you could have clients that were ready to walk in, right? If you were going to be a coach, all you had to do was put up a website, say you were coaching, put out a few business cards, and you could get the clients rolling in, right? Maybe if you went one step farther, you were going to put that shingle up. Maybe you even dropped off some donuts at the local doctor's office, but it was not complicated. to get people coming in, right? But the landscape is changing because there is more and more going on. So maybe you have done a few things. Maybe you have tried to launch a website, right? Maybe you have a website, but you're like, I'm not getting no traffic, and I'm gonna tell you the truth. I'm gonna be completely honest and transparent here. The first few years of my business, I wasted a whole bunch of time, and I mean a whole bunch of time, trying to go back and forth with people, trying to make sure that the website was perfect, right? I spent so much time going back and forth, redoing websites, and there was really just no reason for it. The website was perfectly fine. There wasn't any reason for me to redo it, but yet I was doing it over and over again. Maybe you're on social media, right? Maybe you're spending some time on social media and you are, posting, and you feel like you're posting relatively consistently. Maybe you've even had a little money, you've paid for a few ads. Maybe you've paneled with a few insurance companies. But here's what I want you to know. The landscape has changed because of some of the big box tech companies that are masquerading around as mental health agencies. So when you look at places like BetterHelp and Growth Therapy and Alma and all these different places, they are not mental health agencies, right? What they are is tech companies that are backed by venture capitalists, and they have a lot of money to throw. So if you type into your if you go on to Google right now or pick up your phone right now and you type in to your search therapy, the first 3 to 5 things that's going to show up are all going to be sponsored ads, because their budgets allow them to spend tens of thousands of dollars every single month on driving traffic to their website. So if you've tried these things, you are not crazy, okay? You are not wrong. I understand why you're not having the results that you need, okay? So here is what I want you to know. You've got to have a plan, and I'm about to give you the plan, okay? So step 1 is I want you to understand your client. Now, for most of you, you probably are saying like, well, I could take anybody that has anxiety, anybody that has depression, anybody that wants help with their marriage, anybody who wants to start a business, anybody who wants to just, have personal growth. But here's the thing, guys. If you want to succeed in terms of marketing for your business, you are going to have to get intimately clear on who your customer, your client actually is. You may be able to help many people, but here's the thing that I want you to know. And if you don't write down anything else today, I want you to write this down. You can only market to one person at a time. You can only market to one person at a time. You must be crystal clear on the person who you are targeting. That will save you time and save you money. And here's what I mean by you can only market to one person at a time. In order for you to break through the noise of social media, in order for you to stand out in a sea of other people, in order for you to have somebody who is drawn to you, who will connect to you, you have to be speaking directly to them. You have to be positioned in a way that they hear your voice through all the other noise. And it is so easy right now where people are just constantly paying for ads and sponsoring posts that you've got to be really, really good at breaking through that noise. So you have to talk to one person at a time. Here's what I mean by that. So I love working with service providers who are looking to scale their income and impact while maintaining a quality of life. That's what I enjoy doing, right? So I don't particularly, it's not that I can't help somebody who's in a product-based business, right? Maybe you sell t-shirts, maybe you sell, I don't know, what do people sell on TikTok Shop? Berea bombs or whatever, but that's not who I specifically target. Right? So when I am posting on social media, I am not posting for everyone and everybody. I am specifically pulling to mind the therapist who has spent $100,000 to get their degree and doesn't have enough clients to pay the student loan bill, right? I am specifically keeping in mind the single mom who is tired of working multiple jobs and needs to figure out a way to generate some income passively so that she doesn't have to spend all of her time away from her children. I pull to mind the one person who I want to take action on my content. And that is the only person that I talk to in my content, right? So here's the bottom line. Some of the people who are not my person are going to be like, oh, that doesn't apply to me. Some of them might even be like, oh, you just turned me completely off. I'm not even interested in hearing what you have to say anymore. And that's okay, because the person who actually is my perfect client, my perfect customer, the person who I really want to work with, the person who I know I can help achieve the goals and the success that they want to have in their life, that person is going to be drawn. Right? And that's the priority. The priority is making sure that that person connects with me. Okay. So how do you do that? Well, let's talk about it. First of all, you want to identify not only the demographics of your clients, but the psychographics of your client, right? So when we're talking about demographics, we're talking about like really simple things like their age, their gender, their race, those kind of things, right? And most of us have an idea of that. When I have new clinicians that are coming into the practice, I say, like, who do you really want to work with? And most of them will say things like, oh, yeah, I'm interested in working with people who are, young, single, they make about $100,000 a year, blah, 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 blah. Those are demographics. You need to have that, right? But when we're talking about psychographics, this is where you get that sweet spot where you can start to stand out in front of your customer, right? So it's, what does this person kind of like? What do they like to do? What are some of their family values? What are they doing on the weekends? How are they spending their time? Which social media platforms do they use? All of those are contained inside those psychographics, right? You also want to pay attention to not only their pain points, but I'm going to tell you something. If you are a therapist or a coach, you might become really exhausted and bored with only speaking to people's pain points. So you also want to focus on their desired outcomes, right? So if I have I'm gonna use this picture for an example. It would be really easy to say, is your family struggling right now? That's a pain point. Or, is your family dealing with a financial crisis? Is your family, crumbling under the pressure of your daughter's anxiety, right? But that can be exhausting for me. And that negative energy of that is not necessarily the only way I want to position myself. Maybe I want to say, do you want to have back the smile that you had in your family picture? Do you want to live that every day, right? So you want to make sure that you understand your client's pain points, but also their desired outcomes. And having that in your mind before you sit down to do any work of marketing, that is a key. Okay. You got to be really clear about that. You really should be looking at your clients and paying attention to what they're doing. Let me tell you a little trick that I do from time to time. So I have a YouTube channel that I operate, obviously, and I pay attention to, and I consume content on YouTube for myself, whether it be a meditation or just a training or, just general content from some other creators that I really enjoy. But I have a separate YouTube profile that I have curated to be in the mind of my ideal customer. So what that means is I get online at least once or twice a week. I will search the same way that I would assume my customer is searching, and I see what's coming up from my customer. I see what they're looking at. I go to, the different creators and I look at what are comments that people are leaving. What questions are they asking? Right? Because I'm analyzing what my potential clients are looking at, what they're looking for, what they are saying, what they are seeing, what they are doing, right? A lot of times we can't attract customers to us. We can't effectively market to our customers because we don't know enough about them, right? And a lot of times, because you're kind of in the trenches doing the work, it can be like, oh, well, how do I get this information? Well, you got to do a little bit of research on your clients. If that's making sense, give me a 1 in the chat. Okay, so step 2, if you want to stand out to market yourself, is you have to build your personal brand, okay? People have got to know, like, and trust you. And this is one that a lot of my coaches and counselors really, really struggle with. They struggle with this because we love to kind of be behind the scenes, right? We love to be behind those closed doors. We love to give our clients all of their anonymity and their confidentiality, and we love that. So showing up online, That feels a little bit, that feels not so good to us, but you have got to build a personal brand. Here's what I'm telling you. Growth Therapy, Better Health, Talkspace, all of these different places, they have spent millions of dollars to become a brand. They have spent millions of dollars to become recognizable. If you are hiding behind the fact that you're a therapist, a social worker, a coach, and not actually showing up as who you are as a person, you're not going to be able to, quote unquote, compete with these organizations that have built their brand. You have to acknowledge that you are a person, but you have a personal brand, okay? Your clients and customers need to connect with you in order to trust you with their time and their money, right? Now, our practice does not do free consults. We do not do, 15-minute consult calls. We do not do that. And we are still able to convert clients all the time from either a simple phone call with our administrative staff or by looking at our website and reading our bios or by looking at any of the other social media information that we have out there or videos that we have there, because we've positioned ourselves to be known, liked, and trusted. Okay, so how can you do that? That's the question you're going to ask me, and I'm going to tell you. First of all, I want you to define your unique value proposition. Okay, that means, why are you the best person to help this customer? Why are you the best person to help your client? Okay, you have to be able to know that. Now, maybe it's because you have lived this experience, right? Maybe it's because you have healed something in yourself that they are currently going through. Maybe it's because you have personally, done a certain amount of training or research or investment in this particular skill set, right? Maybe it's because you look at things a little bit differently than other people, right? Maybe you're looking at things a little bit differently. I am a certified trauma-informed coach. And the reason Okay, well, we had a little bit of a technical glitch there, but let's pull it back together and keep going. So when I said was leaving off saying there is that you want to define your unique value proposition, which basically means why you are uniquely qualified to do the work that you do. Now, for example, I was saying I'm a certified trauma-informed coach. Not only do I have my master's degree in educational counseling, but I went back to get this additional credential in trauma because I had done a lot of trauma work, right? So I'd done TFCBT, I'd done motivational interview, all of these different techniques, which had great frameworks and structures for helping people with that deep healing work. But what I found a lot of times, both with myself and with potential clients, is that a lot of times, even though you know logically, you know cognitively what you should be doing and why you should be doing it, the challenge is still, there's still sometimes barriers there helping you to move forward because you still have those same type of wounds. We talk about in the coaching world, this spiral of healing, because I have personally been on that spiral of healing and worked my way up to get to where I am today. It makes me uniquely qualified to work with someone who's also on their own spiral of healing, okay? And so I know that, but it's also my job to make sure that I present myself in a way that shows that. That's where you come into the showcasing your expertise and your authenticity. Now, as counselors, one of the things that we're often taught, particularly from the most kind of standard frame of reference and modality approaches, is to keep ourselves very, very neutral. But when we are talking about getting clients in today's market, I want you to know that people not only want to know that you're an expert, but they want to know that you're real. They want to know that you can connect with them, that you can understand them, particularly if you're working with people who have a history of trauma, and sometimes from a very culturally relevant perspective, people want to see who you are. They will connect with you as an individual, even beyond you as your credential. Lots of people have the credential of licensed clinical social worker. Lots of people have the credential of licensed marriage and family therapist. Lots of people have the credential of a certified life coach. but what makes you authentic? What makes you the person that's going to help me save my family, or the person that's going to help me finally break through that barrier that I've been in? What makes you uniquely qualified for that, right? And then the next thing is you want to make sure that you create visual consistency across all platforms. And this is one of those things that I think can be particularly challenging as you say, like, hey, I want to have my own kind of personal persona, but I also have my professional persona. Because sometimes clients will do extra research, they will deep dive into your experience. But what you want to make sure is that you are consistent. It doesn't mean that everything has to be the same, but it means that you're consistent. If they see you on LinkedIn and then they find you on TikTok, are those going to be incongruent? You have to really think about how you are positioning yourself. I know that may not seem super fair, but when you're talking about your brand, understand that your brand is what people say about you when you're not in the room. Do they say that you're honest? Do they say that you're hardworking? Do they say that you're funny? Do they say that you're relatable? Do they say that you're trustworthy? What they say about you when you're not in the room is what's going to make a difference. And that's what's going to also have them to talk to their friends and their families and their coworkers and their colleagues and their supervisors about you. So make sure that you have consistency. A lot of times we talk about things like logos and brand colors, which is great. But if you are, and I'm a person who absolutely likes to dress down. So let me just be honest about that. I love to be comfortable and casual, and you will see me very often in some yoga pants chilling out, right? But I present myself now that I'm in a kind of a public facing role. I do like to have like a very basic amount of something that I'm doing. I'm not going out with my hair looking crazy. I may not always have a full beat on my face, but I'm going to make sure that my face is clean and I've got a little, my skincare is on tap, because I want to make sure that I'm presenting myself in a particular way. And I want people to feel comfortable with me no matter what. So make sure that you're being consistent across all of your platforms. Okay, the next thing that we're going to be talking about is creating that content that connects. Now, I know for some of us, content is absolutely a sore spot because it feels like one more thing that we have to do. It feels like one more thing that we have to figure out. We don't have time. We don't want to be dancing. We don't know what we want to do. We don't want to spend time becoming a graphic designer. It just feels like that extra thing that we have to do. But I want you to understand something. Your content is your 24/7 storefront, showing your potential clients what they can receive by working with you. It can be your best and most unpaid employee if you treat it as such. A lot of people, before they make a buying decision, have become so conditioned to seeing the content, seeing the information in advance, that if they can't find content from you, if you haven't posted on your Instagram, if your Facebook profile is dead, if you've got things on your LinkedIn and on your website that are 2 months, 3 months, 6 months, a year outdated, they are not going to trust that you will be able to support them, okay? So it's important that you recognize that your content is a tool that is going to help attract your customers to you, okay? So I want you to get into the habit of seeing your content as an employee in your business. Okay. I also want you to get into the habit of looking at content as not something that you have to do as extra, but just like an extension of what you're already doing. So if you said something really jazzy in your session with your client, I want you to make a note of that, to put that out on Twitter, to put that out on or X or whatever we're calling it right now, right? I want you to make a note of that. If you are finishing up your notes and you had a really good session with somebody, I want you to reflect on that. You don't have to give out any specifics about the client, right? But sometimes what happens is in those moments right after the session when you're kind of processing and you're kind of, doing your session notes, that's a moment where you just take maybe 15, 20 seconds and just record something, right? Because that is real and that is authentic, as opposed to trying to set everything up and have it be super structured. Now, on the flip side, I do also like to have kind of content batching days. So that is something that you can do as well. But I want you to get into the habit of viewing content as a tool and a resource for you. So the first thing that you're going to do to make sure that your content connects is you want to identify those relevant topics and themes. So we started at the beginning by knowing who you're talking to, identifying what their pain points are, their psychographics, their demographics. You've done all of that. I want you to identify no more than 3 to 5 topics or themes that you are routinely talking about on your social media. Let me say that again. I want you to identify no more than 3 to 5 topics or themes that you are consistently talking about on social media. And these should be the things that your clients care about, right? These should be the things that are relevant to your brand. So pick those 3 to 5, and I want you to stay in that lane. Here's why I want you to do that. We as human beings right now are creatures of distraction. And you are going to have to get comfortable being repetitive in your content. I know that is not what we think, but I'm going to, let me break this down for you. There are going to be some pieces of content that you could literally share every single month, and it would never grow old. It would be literally evergreen because it is relevant to your target customer, where they are and where they want to be. And if you share them consistently, it's going to cut down on the amount of content that you create. So identify those themes that are going to be kind of your evergreen themes that you're going to always talk about. You might have a few posts that you share kind of consistently. So one of the things that we do with our content really consistently is we routinely share an image of our therapist, a little bit about them and who they are accepting, like what types of clients and insurance and things they're accepting, right? And so every week we highlight a different therapist in our newsletter, in our social media, and then we just kind of keep rotating through. If we know somebody's getting ready to have openings on their caseload, we'll highlight them for a couple of weeks. If we know somebody's caseload looking a little light, we'll highlight them for a couple of weeks. But we just do that really consistently. So that kind of clinician profile is a piece of evergreen content. Now, depending on how many people are in your practice, that might fill up, almost a week's worth of content over the course of a month, depending on how many clinicians that you have. But you just kind of get into the habit of sharing that, right? Another thing you might do is have like daily themes. So maybe it's Wellness Wednesday or Monday Motivation or Feel Good Friday, what have you. So kind of get into the habit of having like those topics that you routinely hit, which can be related to different days, and also the themes that you know are going to really, really matter to your clients, okay? So, and pay attention to what you're seeing in terms of trends as well. There is room for that, but I don't want you to get into the habit of following the trends. I want you to make the trend applicable to your theme, right? So maybe there's like a really cute little Facebook trend or a little TikTok trend going on. If that's not relevant to your theme, I don't want you to waste time on that. You don't have a whole bunch of time to waste, so I don't want you to get kind of wrapped up in that. By focusing on the topics and themes that you are going to share about consistently, it will actually cut down on the amount of work that you need to do. The next thing that you want to focus on is mixing story and educational content to get the best conversion. You want to mix story and that educational content, okay? So yes, you can put out posts about like, hey, this is what you should do. Hey, this is, the new strategy for this, or this is a way to kind of relieve your anxiety. But they want to hear some stories. People learn through stories. They relate through stories, okay? So it's really important that you help them to relate to you by having these things be connected, okay? So have a mix of both educational content and also some story content. Now, this may not be a specific story from a client. It may be a piece of a story from a client, or it may be something you saw. Let's say you saw something on social media, or you saw a post that somebody else put on social media. It might be your feedback to what that person put out, right? That's how we can maintain our ethical guidelines and make sure we're not breaching no HIPAA, but you can still use a story to be able to convert someone, right? Because they want to feel like they're in conversation with you. And then you want to give your audience a next step. You want to always give them something next to do. It could be as simple as drop a comment. If you agree, give me some feedback, check my website. You want to also be giving them always be giving them something that they can add to the conversation, because that shows that they are ready to take action. Most people are not going to go from one piece of content automatically to your client. There's going to be some steps that they need to take. This is one of the reasons why I encourage people to use things like lead magnets and automation in their business, because it sometimes takes people 7, 10, 14 days to kind of get nurtured into working with you. And that's what you want to be able to do. Okay? Any questions so far? Next, we are on to our strategic partnerships. Now, I'm going to give you a story about this one because strategic partnerships have been very, very good for me in my business. My very first 5-figure consulting contract came from a strategic partnership. I was working as a like a contractor with them, like for a specific reason. I went through a training. I was like, your training wasn't it. I need to help you. And I sent an email and was like, hey, I know that I can help you do this thing a little bit better. And that conversation over the course of maybe 60 days or so turned into a $17,000 contract. Okay. So you can position yourself. You can position yourself with the strategic partnerships. Last year, I had a $25,000 contract from a former employer. This year they're renewing, and I think we're going to probably be a little bit higher than we were last year, because the truth of the matter is if you have a strategic relationship with someone, that is better than an ad, right? Because you have an entry point. When you think about something like LinkedIn, right? We know when we look at LinkedIn, it's all about your network. So how can you leverage your network and create these strategic partnerships? Your network will absolutely impact your net worth, but I do want you to think outside of the box, okay? I want you to think outside of the box, because not only will you get referrals from places like doctors' offices, but you might be able to get referrals from other organizations. You might be able to get, they might be complementary things that are not just your typical like medical office or what have you, right? Maybe you can have a referral with a local yoga studio, because as people are getting in there and they are doing yoga and they're taking care of their body, they also want to take care of their mind. Maybe you want to have a referral source with the local yoga studio. Maybe you want to go with the local gym, right? The YMCA. Maybe you want to offer a free workshop at the YMCA to get some feedback or to get some potential customers there. So don't just think about those typical ones. You want to think outside of the box. So here's some ways to do that. First and foremost, define your objectives and what are the criteria that you're looking for in terms of partnership. Okay, so what do I mean by that? The very first level of kind of what would be a criteria is I want someone who has a similar interest in my target customer. Okay. So if my target customer is, let's say, for example, 15-year-old kids, because they're old enough to be thinking about college, but not too late. If that's my target customer is 15-year-old children who are, potentially on college track, and their parents, that's my customer. The first thing I'm looking at is who else in my community, in my city, in my network, who else has a similar person that they are interested in supporting. Okay. And what do I want from this partnership? That's the next step. So once I know that we've got some shared interests, what do I want from this partnership? What am I looking for from this partnership? What am I interested in getting from this partnership? Do I want them to send me referrals? Do I want them to collaborate with me so that we can do something like a joint venture? So a joint venture is like, you're bringing your audience, I'm bringing my audience. We're going to sell this to both of the audiences and split the price. Right? In some instances, you might say like, maybe this is a therapy and yoga session, right? And so people pay one price point and they get a little conversation with you as the therapist, and then they also get to do something physical for their body. Maybe like there might be a joint venture. So I'm looking for somebody to do a joint venture with me. Maybe I'm just looking for somebody to share my information with their network, right? Describe what your objectives are. Once you're clear about what you want, then you can approach people, right? But you don't. One of the things we do sometimes when we first start is we start having conversations with everybody and trying to have these partnerships with everybody. And these people are not good partners for you. So define what you want out of the partnership first, okay? And then look for your potential partners, okay? And then the other thing that you can also do once you've identified those partnerships is understand that it may take some time. It may take some time to create this partnership. It will probably not be something that happens literally overnight. It will take some time. I have had partnerships that took at least 6 or 8 or 9 or 10 months. I have had partnerships that have taken a year. I've had partnerships that I have not closed yet that I anticipate will close at some point, but they still have not closed yet. So be in this for the long game, right? But the key here is nurturing. So if you have a partnership that you want to have with someone, you have that initial reach out, I want you to schedule, pull out your planner, pull out your phone, pull out your calendar, and I want you to schedule when you're going to follow up with them. Whether that be sending them a card, sending them an email, scheduling a coffee date, inviting them to something that you have going on, you want to nurture and maintain those relationships. Right? That is how you're going to get out there and network and get those things built. And this doesn't all have to be in person. It can be in person, but it can definitely be virtual. I have had people that I have collaborated with virtually, and I have never seen their face in person ever once, right? So it doesn't have to be that you are in person with all these things, but you do want to make sure that you are nurturing and maintaining these relationships on a consistent basis. All right, so now it's our time. Do we have any questions or any feedback about anything that we've had today? This was your time to get your questions answered. Feel free to unmute or just drop a comment. Absolutely, go ahead and unmute. Absolutely.
Thank you. This has been amazing. Thank you so much. My favorite part is the one about partnership. I kind of have known all of the other stuff about like businesses and identifying your ideal client and all of that. The partnerships are a new venture for me. I just
Okay.
left my job at a college and now I'm just kind of trying to fill up my private practice. But there's the other part of me that really wants to do more of the consulting work. I specialize in relationships. I work with overwhelmed women who are entrepreneurs or professionals, help them revitalize their relationships, elevate their self-esteem, and recover from burnout. And I love what you said about the yoga studio because I don't know why that did not connect to me. I'm also a yoga instructor.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
And I don't know why that like it just didn't, but that's what I was looking for through this training was like my blind spots basically.
Absolutely, absolutely. That's such a good point though. Is it Aaliyah?
Aaliyah, yes.
Yeah, that's such a good point. I'm going to tell you why that's such a good point because we are conditioned to look at things one way. We are conditioned to look at things as like, oh, well, if you because you use your health insurance, it's got to, you got to go to the medical route. But there are so many other ways that your mental health, when you're talking about relationships, listen, there are so many people who can't hardly think straight at work because their relationships are so jacked, right? You might go into like an HR department and say, hey, I want to offer you I just want to make an acquaintance with you, like, some of the things that I have to offer. I'm having a free webinar on, improving your relationships. Would you mind sharing this with your staff? Might be an introduction into that type of a partnership. Now, what you're going to get from that, maybe they will, maybe they won't, right? You might do that to 5 or 10 different companies in your area. You may say, hey, I'm a therapist not far from you. Wanted to just let you know that I'm here and what I have available. I have this call coming up. You go out with your QR code. They put it up in the break room. People scan it. They sign up. Now you've got 20 people on your email list that you didn't have. And it was a 30-minute that it took for you to get into the office and 30 minutes for you to have the call. And now you've got that conversation.
Now, when you think about, or when you're talking about reaching out, I know part of it is physically like reaching out, but do you also suggest virtually reaching out, or would you more so prefer like physically going and talking to people?
I do both. I absolutely do both. I will be honest, but I'm gonna tell you the truth because I'm not gonna lie to you. I prefer not to go in person. And the only reason I prefer not to go in person is because it's very time consuming.
Right.
right? We have to, like when you're starting out, you're like, oh, I got time, I got time, I got time. But when you're talking about sustainability, it's very time consuming for you to leave. Like I live kind of in the suburbs. And so it's 30 minutes for me to get anywhere. So if it's 30 minutes for me to get somewhere and 30 minutes for me to get back home and 20 minutes to talk to you, I'm going to be only able to hit 4 or 5 people in the course of a day if I have a full day to do something.
Right.
Now, that's not to say that I won't do that, but what I can do very easily is invite 5 or 10 people via LinkedIn to a webinar or to a call or something like that. So I try to do a combination of the two. Well, we had really good success recently. So we are in a giant office building in a very heavily office population area. So we went and did we dropped off candy baskets at all of our kind of neighbors in the building. So we've done that because obviously I can hit 10 people in 1 hour, basically going door to door. So I've done both. I would say try to mix it up, but if you don't have a ton of time, still do something, right? Like what we tend to do is oh, I don't have time to run to all these different places. And it can be expensive too. Like we always will try and take some type of a handout and usually some type of a gift, donuts or candy or something. If you're doing that 20 or 30 times a month, depending on what your marketing budget is, that can get up there. But I've had really good success with reaching out to different agencies and associations and offering them either a free lunch and learn or low cost lunch and learn just to get some new people onto my list that I can nurture that can become customers in the future.
Okay. Yeah, I do like that. I guess my main dilemma is I'm better in person and talking to people. And I've been trying to go to a lot of the networking events, and that has worked because I've been
Absolutely.
able to kind of hit different not agencies, different categories of people and business
Mhm.
owners and such. But like you said, the time I am a single parent of twins, and I thought I was, yeah. I thought I was going to have more time, and then my schedule is filling up, but I'm like, no, I need to network more. So
Yeah.
I'm better in person, and I feel that salesy part that you mentioned in the beginning. I feel
Mhm.
that when I'm reaching out online because I feel like I'm not able to express most of my personality that way. But I guess that's
Mhm.
just something I have to work on.
Yeah, but I would say do both. I would definitely encourage you to do a little bit of both. Like if you look at your calendar at the beginning of the week or the month or what have you, and find those spots where you can go out and do things in person, but then make sure that you also have something going out virtually. Like I said, I mention all the time having some type of a call or a webinar or something
I like that.
because it has just been so successful for us. I think we had one contract last year ended up being over $50,000 from a 45-minute trauma informed lunch and learn, like literally. There was an employee of an organization that was like, we just paid somebody $15,000 and they didn't give me half of what you gave me. And next thing we know, we are having a conversation and we now have this really elaborate relationship with them that will probably continue to generate income, but has thus far in less than 3 years generated $50,000. So when you have the time to do it in person, and some people I have my niece owns a residential and commercial cleaning company. The child, I mean, she's 40. I don't know why I'm saying child, but the way that she can just effortlessly, I think she underestimates it all the time, but she really could probably teach a master class just by watching her. She can effortlessly network her way into conversations with all type of decision makers in a way that you just could never imagine. So some people just really are good that way. So if that's your sweet spot, make sure that you make time for that, but don't let not having time for that stop you from networking. Because what sometimes we do in this realm is we get an influx of clients, we're doing the work, doing the work, doing the work, but then we don't market while we're doing the work. And so then when the clients fall off or something changes, now we've got this feast and famine cycle. So networking and marketing has to be a consistent part of your business plan. So find a way to make sure that it always fits. And even if it's not exactly the way that you want it to fit, just make sure that it's always in there somewhere. That should just be a consistent thing that you're doing.
Perfect. Yep, I needed that as a reminder. Yep.
Yep.
Thank
All
you.
right. Perfect. All right. So lastly, things that I can do to help. So obviously I work specifically with individuals. And when I send out the recording of this, which I will obviously have to clean up because we had a little blip, but strategic business coaching, I want you to have a strategy. I think if there's one thing that I want you to really get from today is that you can't just be good at what you do. This is a business, and every business has to have a marketing plan. It's got to be strategic. You've got to be able to share that. You've got to put that your best foot forward, and you've got to be able to do that consistently. I see a lot of people where it's like, oh, I have a full caseload. Then you have 5 or 6 people close, and you're like, oh my God, I need referrals. I need referrals. No, you should have that consistent stream of referrals if you have a process that does that for you. I do have a business development course. So if you're saying that, hey, I really am struggling right now with some of those missing pieces of my foundation, I'm good at doing therapy. I don't need nobody to help me do that. I'm good at coaching. I don't need anybody to help me do that. But I don't understand email. I don't know how to set up a funnel. I don't know about sequences. And I also have templates. So if you wanted to do things like provide those digital product sales so that you can get those low ticket sales coming in to kind of set yourself up as an expert, I will share information about all of this when I send out the recording. So you'll be able to take a look at all of that. But I do want to thank you for sticking with me today, sticking with through all of the technical challenges. And like I said, I will make sure that the recording is uploaded, and I will share that out probably later on today or early tomorrow. Thank you so much for your time and for sharing with me. If there's no other questions, I will see you guys on the next one.
Thank you.
Thank you.